Hi everyone. I hope everyone is doing well in this period of a global pandemic. I hope we're all staying healthy and staying safe. My name is Uffa Modey and I am from Lagos, Nigeria. And today I will be talking about African youth inclusion in internet ICT infrastructure policy and standards development. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator at Eko-Konnect Research and Education Initiative, and I'm also the Executive Director at Digital Grassroots. And so for today, I'm going to talk a bit about myself first before we start, and I'll talk about my role in Digital Grassroots, what Digital Grassroots is about, what we do, and then I'll talk more about the topic for today, why should African youth be included in ICT development and ICT policy. And then I would navigate through some questions that highlight specific topics we would like to discuss, and then we can have a Q&A session. So if there's any questions, I'll respond to questions, and then we can conclude. So a little bit about me first. I obtained my Bachelor in Engineering, Electrical and Electronics Engineering in 2015 in University of Benin, Nigeria. I majored in electronics, engineering, telecommunications, and ICT. And my specific areas of interest are community network, open internet standards, physical computing, and IoT. And I'm also very much invested in technology policy. That's basically creating principles, standards, and norms that determine how we approach and use technology in order to shape our digital future. And I'm also an advocate for youth inclusion in global sustainability. Um, at Digital Grassroots, like I said earlier, I'm the executive director right now. Digital Grassroots was co-founded in 2017, and at the moment, I am currently serving as the executive director. And Digital Grassroots, our objectives are to engage youth in internet governance and to connect grassroots communities to institutions where their autonomy as digital citizenship can be in where their autonomy in digital citizenship can be learned, and we also create services and resources that help these communities leverage um, to leverage digital literacy tools for their inclusion. Currently, we have designed 3 capacity building exercises and currently we've designed 3 different youth engagement projects and capacity building exercises for these young people in grassroots communities to enable them learn what it means to become to participate and approach technology as a digital citizen. And we have engaged over 200 of these young people in about 64 countries through online learning and our online networks and our communities. We have created 2 courses aimed at community engagement for internet governance and digital rights issues. Our mission basically is to proactively engage young people in addressing internet related issues through digital literacy, digital citizenship, networking, and activism. So basically, when we ask the question, when we look at our topic for today, African youth inclusion, the first thing that I would like us to talk about is youth inclusion. What is the role of young people in global sustainability? Why should young people be involved in global sustainability? That has a lot to do with the role of young people as the next generation of leaders. It is very hard for me to envisage a plan for the future generation when the people who are supposed to exist in that next generation are being excluded in the layout and plans that would affect them in due time. So, and we know very well right now that the world we live in right now has embraced ICT and telecommunication as almost the bedrock of society. Almost every half of the world is online right now, and there's still a lot of effort that is going into ensuring that people are connected and the internet technology and ICT services are available for everyone around the world. So digital citizenship basically refers to that online experience or online extension of yourself in the digital space that enables you to participate on that space. So what can it be? It can be you having a social media account, you writing a post online, you sending something over email, you subscribing for something, you downloading something, basically even being registered on platforms as well that make use of your information, governmental platforms that are being involved in society. These are the different ways that people engage the online world and thereby create this extension of themselves online that can that by de facto makes them digital citizens also. So yeah, we've seen in the world we are right now, we've seen different scenarios where the governments have created e-governance platforms that all leverage modern technology and ICT when it comes to health, administration, payments, pensions, and then we have identity as well. And then we have critical national infrastructure and resources that are all leveraging ICT and telecommunications for deployment. We have the data of of everyday citizens being hosted by and collected by governments. We have amazing infrastructure for telecommunications being deployed all around the continent, where with sophisticated platforms and applications being built on these networks that enables lives and learning. We have e-commerce and education there's been a revolution in the e-commerce and the education sector thanks to ICT. ICT has changed the way learning is approached all around the world. And then last but not the least, you have ICT playing a major role in mass communication right now. People have seen different scenarios where people have leveraged technology for creating social justice and accountability. Hashtag Me Too, hashtag Black Lives Matter. We have seen how important ICT is now in our society. It has also changed the future of work for young people right now. But then it's not always a bed of roses. There are all the issues that have come up and have been given birth to because of ICT. There are underlying issues that have generated. For example, you have monopolization um, of the internet by big tech giant companies that have so many users and so many subscribing to their platforms that hold so much um, significant and crucial information of the users. And then you have these companies being able to control the flow of information. So it's very tricky. And then we have fake news, cyberbullying, cyber terrorism, cyber warfare. You have different cases of human rights abuses of users when it comes to their privacy, their security, their surveillance, their data. Who has access to whose data? How is it being used? How is it being managed? And then you have the new and emerging issues with new and emerging technologies, blockchain, AI, VR, IoT, and cloud computing. There are different other issues that have come up thanks to the amazing wealth of resources that have been made available by ICT. And so the important thing that we should know here is that for Africans, this mustn't necessarily be um, a one size fits all kind of situation, because most of these issues that I have described earlier on, when it comes to addressing them for a solution, it is always it is much better to reflect on the realities of your communities and their needs when proposing solutions. So, for example, policies that may be tailored to fit an Asian community or a European community may not exactly or necessarily meet the immediate needs of the African community. So this is where we African young people, this is where the next generations of Africans need to sit up and understand all the issues that exist and what it actually means to participate as a digital citizen while observing healthy online practices. What does it mean to have an open internet? What does it mean to have an inclusive internet? What does it mean to deploy decentralized technology? Why should we promote web literacy further than having basic technical and computer skills? Why should we have privacy and security embedded in all forms of our networks? So yeah, these are the things that we begin to think about, and these are now the avenues that um, young Africans can come into play in proposing solutions to solving these things. So that way, when we're mapping the future of work, livelihood, commerce, academic, and different kind of things in the African ecosystem, it will be easier to identify how technology may positively or negatively affect these things and create policies and principles that would address any issues that arise. So time by time, we have questions that will arise, such as how can we start discussing available internet and connectivity for everyone when in our basic stage we have not even quite figured out something like electricity for available electricity and power everywhere, steady power supply all through the continent. So when it comes to that kind of thing, we should also realize that yes, we admit that ICT really and internet technology really depends on the availability of power. We need power to um, make the systems and the infrastructure work. However, unlike other national infrastructure services like electricity or let me say water or gas, internet as a resource can actually be given to people without the centralization or the involvement of the national governments. It's very in rural areas where they're having power issues and of course internet issues. What the forefront of work in those kind of areas is most of the time circular around building this kind of community networks that serve the immediate needs of the rural community. So it's just basically like deploying the dedicated network to serve a particular community. And this kind of networks are most of the time have base stations that are powered by renewable energy sources. So when it comes to teaching ICT on local levels in Africa, we have situations where even our curriculum may not necessarily be up to date with the developed world. And when we say teaching ICT in Africa, most of the time people just think only about giving computer skills and how to code and how to be a better programmer and things like that. And nobody actually really focuses on how to give people the skills required for them to participate as players in the policy space. So we should think about those kind of things also and know that when we're teaching computer skills and digital literacy in primary schools and secondary schools, it shouldn't only be about how to use a computer and how to code and how to to build amazing infrastructure for computer networks. It should also be how to have these skills that enables you to engage technology policy. So the African digital world it's actually really beautiful. We have a thriving developing ecosystem when it comes to ICT and infrastructure. But there's just a lot of things that we need to talk about. We have to make the entire ecosystem extremely multi-stakeholder. It shouldn't be the responsibility of only a certain group of people like government or the private sector to um, it shouldn't be the responsibility of the government or just the private sector to ensure that there's available infrastructure for ICT in a particular community. It should be a collective effort. Everybody has a role to play. There should be the technical communities, also the civil society, everyday internet users. Like I've described before, we have seen time by time where the voices of everyday internet users have brought about change in society. We have seen different people leverage social media platforms to um, sign petitions and sign bills that have been passed eventually into law. And then um, we have to we have to adopt extremely open and transparent and inclusive systems when designing this technology and for ICT in Africa. It shouldn't be secluded across the regions. There needs to be collaboration so we can deploy a universal and an intercontinental network. That way, users infrastructure. That way, there will be uniform deployment around through the continent and adoption as well. And this is another place where the African youth comes into play. The African youth, who of course are the next generation of users of these networks, they have a lot to do when it comes to understanding how what these internet issues are. I've already described some of these issues earlier on, but that's very top level descriptions. There's still a whole lot more um, when it comes to um, diving into what these actual issues are and how they can be addressed. So we need to map out ways for contributions. There should be support. We need to support young people. Um, Most of the times when you go to this kind of technology policy public meetings, you find out that it's mostly, hold on. You find out that it's, I'm sorry, I have an issue in the line. Okay, I don't know what that is. Hold on. Sorry, I have to move that a bit. So you find out that it's mostly dominated by older people. You have older folks manning this kind of institutions, whereas the need to create systems that allows the young people to contribute as well, so that it's not only young people, it's not only the older people that are involved are included. Young people need to tap from a wealth of experience that they can learn from. And then we need to encourage young people when it comes to volunteerism. They need to know how to volunteer their time and to make quality contributions to the sector. And then last but not the least, we also need to make it extremely easy for young people know to understand what the core values of the internet are. It should be embedded in them. They should know the rights and wrongs. They should be able to map out what who should have the powers, where should the control be, what shared principles should be adopted, and at what time it should be adopted. So basically, how does all of this affect our readiness for the fourth industrial revolution? The fourth industrial revolution will be greatly driven by data. Data will drive it. We would have a lot of smart systems with new and emerging technologies. There would need to be data laws, data governance, data privacy, data surveillance, data science, data management. There's just going to be a lot of issues with data management. So I think that that's an avenue where the young Africans can look into to propose solutions in. And then for technical skills development, it should be of extreme importance that young people have the technical skills that would be required. It's one thing to build nice networks, but it's another thing to actually have um, to actually have amazing policies that govern the way these nice networks would operate. So we need to have both of them, not just the policymakers without the technologies. We need to have technologists that understand what real life policies should be implemented in deploying technology. And then we should be open to we should be open in having conversations and collaborations. We should put all this information should be readily available for anyone who wants to contribute or to learn. And then we also should encourage collaboration among the continent, researchers, scientists, and policy briefs, just basically experiences that helps us also know how the network is affecting the lives of people in different regions and how we can tailor our collective efforts to solving problems there. So, and then also another thing that I would like to just point out before we round up is the role that ICT has played in problem solving in the recent pandemic that is going on right now, the COVID-19 outbreak. So ICT has proved to be one of the most crucial resources at this time. However, to me, there has been the good parts and there has been the bad parts. The good parts has mostly been ICT serving as a tool for information and news. It has been credible information and news has been one of the key challenges for um, curbing the outbreak this period. But thanks to ICT, we have been able to have good platforms and to leverage the network and the internet, sorry, to give credible information and news all around the globe that has been easily accessible. And then we've had mass communication. In this period of staying at home, it has been extremely helpful to be in touch with loved ones and to share nice jokes, to jump on social media challenges, entertainment. Those have been extremely helpful to livelihood at this point in time. However, the part that took a bit of a hit has been the academia, and in comparison to developed worlds, it's been extremely easy for them to move on with learning thanks to distance and learning technologies. But that hasn't been quite the case here in Africa when you have many higher education institutions, even the primary and the secondary schools being out of session because we have not been quite able to figure out how we can support distant learning and online learning for the citizens. So yeah, this has just been a bit of a tricky part, but apart from that, I think that ICT will continue to do a lot of help in our region, and so we just need to be clear on what exactly we want to accept and what exactly would not be unacceptable, and how we can all move forward to ensure that we build a thriving and a healthy internet ecosystem for ICT in Africa, such that we can have a thriving digital future that is free of all the malicious things that can be associated with the network. So yeah, I don't know if there are any questions. I feel like I've been talking for a while. Okay, so been some nice comments on the group and chats. So I certainly agree. We need fresh creative minds taking control and making revolutionary changes. These we shall achieve when we start believing in our youth and equipping them with the required skills to take up the challenge. I certainly agree with that. So once again, my name is Uffa Modey, and I am very reachable on Twitter, and my email is uffa@digitalgrassroots.org, and my Twitter is at papa416. So yeah, Thank you guys so much. If there are no other questions, I think we can end this webinar. This has been so amazing and so much fun for me. All right then, thank you all so much and enjoy the rest of your day.